emergency and or homeless. So it's like super right.
A lot of
Yes, we both get one. I wasn't involved in that. Yeah. So.
Well, we are federally funded where we are like this program. So that's our like for no big ticket right? But then you fundraising, yeah, so that's multiple contracts. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know. The gentleman who came and talked to us this morning about how they're going to have extra security around the building this weekend. There were concerns about like that incident in Salt Lake City where typhoon it like didn't go off, but it set like I don't really know what this is. Yeah, so they're just they see the garage as kind of like a weak place. It's easy. There's public access to the garage where the Fockers cars are kept inside a cage. But you can't climb the fence, but there's yeah, yeah. So I don't know. So family proper me. And I don't think we're gonna. The agency is doing some kind of quick cut in when the funerals, but it would be in the morning. And we're not going to kick that cut in. But they said it wasn't a political decision. But it would have more to do with they didn't want to interrupt the program and cut in. They thought it was kind of like interrupting that. So I guess they got to wait. But I think Campbell was supposed to be meeting with executives today. I don't know how long he's supposed to be off. I think we've been playing celebrities on that time slot. Throwaway program there. Yeah, I can't imagine a lot of applicants at 11:35. About what Kim said.
All right. Where do you want to see it? Very good. Okay, thank you for being here, everybody. We just had a pre-huddle, and my last words were, "Let's do this in love." for what we're here to talk about this afternoon. So I'm very happy to have community leaders and elected officials here, people who are actually experiencing some of the issues in the immigrant and refugee community and telling their life stories. And so I want to ground this in a quote, if I may. Former President Barack Obama once said, "A budget is more than just a series of numbers on a page. It is an embodiment of our values." And so that's what I think we're trying to accomplish here when we're looking at those who right now might be most vulnerable here. So we're here to announce critical investments as part of my 2026 proposed budget that makes a clear statement of who we are, what we prioritize, and who we stand with. And I say those in unambiguous terms. We know that the policies coming out of DC can be described as cruel, inhumane, violations of due process. They target our immigrant and refugee neighbors and slash federal support to vital services, something as simple as how one can eat. Seattle is choosing to stand with our communities and our values. And this set of investments that I'll describe represents Seattle's effort to keep afloat proven solutions and programs that work, even while Trump wants to take us backwards. So I have a series of investments we'll talk about, and then you'll hear from some of my colleagues who I'll introduce one after the other. First, I'm proposing a $4 million investment that will strengthen our critical programs and services for our immigrant and refugee neighbors while increasing our Office of Immigrant and Refugees Affairs budget by 60% to be led by no one other than Hamdi Mohammed. Sorry. I had memorized to say it just right. And in all seriousness, these investments are directly responsive to the needs we are hearing from the community, and we know we have the right leader, the right staff, the right employees, and the right commitment in that particular department. And these dollars will do a few things. I won't steal Hamdi's thunder, but they will expand workforce training for youth and English learners. They'll provide more legal help, safety resources, and improve access to city and community programs that will help families navigate through the housing and employment and legal service challenges that they may have. They will strengthen rapid response efforts, including legal consultations, which again we know is critical work. Know your rights training, safety planning, and a hotline to report immigration enforcement activities. Please have a seat. You're welcome to come in. I want you to hear this. We will launch new initiatives that expand naturalization efforts, new career pathways for immigrant youth, and broader civic engagement opportunities. So in addition to that work in Director Mohammed's shop, we're also announcing $9.35 million to sustain shelter and voucher programs at risk of federal cuts. And I think you'll hear Councilmember Mercedes Rink talk a little bit more about this. Now, these dollars will create a reserve we can deploy to keep shelter doors open and to maintain short-term housing supports and prevent a surge of people onto the streets, particularly when federal shelter funds are withheld from our human service providers. Now, we can't mince words on this issue. We can't make any mistakes about this. Trump's budget and his policies are what we sort of describe as taking a chainsaw to critical programs that help people stay housed. I read very recently that the homelessness increase in our country is up 18%. So clearly this is an American challenge that we're all dealing with. But here, these investments are part of a larger strategy in our proposed 2026 budget, backfilling, again, essential services threatened by these federal cuts. And these investments would be paid for by the proposed SHIELD initiative, again, that you'll hear more. And just to, again, give some more context in what we're trying to do as a city in this particular budget, we announced very recently that we have placed $6.2 million to expand the Fresh Bucks program to increase the monthly participant stipend by 50% to $60 a month. And we knew that we had thousands of people on the wait list for this valuable program, close to 4,000 people in addition to the 12,000 people that are receiving services. We're taking them off the wait list. So with these investments, you'll see close to 16,000 people who will now get the food that they need. We do not want them to go hungry in one of the wealthiest countries in this country. There's absolutely no excuse for that. We've also announced $4 million to support food banks and other meal access programs and seniors and people experiencing homelessness. In addition, in the context of what Trump is doing, you all know that he has canceled critical programs that provide over $1 billion to food banks across the country. His SNAP cuts are unprecedented at the levels that he has done. And in addition to that, we have $4 million in ongoing annual rental assistance. We've looked at Trump's department, Trump's HUD department, and what they are doing, threatening billions in rental assistance. And we know how challenging this could be. We know the trauma and the fear that people have to live with knowing if they can afford their rent. So we've placed money in the budget for that. Now, budgets are about choices. And so today we are announcing our choice to protect food access, housing, our immigrant and refugee communities, and shelter for the people who need them most. I'll close in my remarks by saying, once again, how I started. It's more than a series of numbers on a page. It reflects who we are at our core as a city of Seattle. And I'm very proud to be, I think, standing in a long list of mayors who have demonstrated this kind of commitment. But the stakes have changed a little bit. We have to double down and triple down and quadruple down on our values, and that's what these budget investments really do. And having said that, I'm going to introduce Councilmember Alexis Mercedes Rink, who's been a strong partner in advancing the SHIELD initiative, which will help fund these proposed investments. And Councilmember Mercedes Rink, you have the microphone.
Do I have to adjust it a little bit? Sorry, everyone. Well, thank you, Mayor Harrell. I think that'll be just fine. Thank you, Mayor Harrell, for prioritizing these investments in your proposed budget. I look forward to emphasizing their importance as council takes up budget very soon, a little bit too soon. And good afternoon, everyone. I'm honored to be here among you all, but also among many leaders in the space carrying out the work every day of taking care of our most vulnerable neighbors. And I want to take a moment to recognize you all for the work that you're doing, taking care of our neighbors. Today, I hope we remember this as the day we drew a line in the sand, when the federal government abandons its most vulnerable residents, immigrants, refugees, families struggling with housing and food insecurity. Seattle steps up. We must refuse to be complicit in cruelty. What we're witnessing from Washington, D.C. is the systematic dismantling of the social safety net that has protected American families for generations. These cuts to food assistance, housing programs, immigrant and asylum seeker support are cruelty designed to scapegoat our most vulnerable neighbors. That's why we have sent the Seattle SHIELD initiative to voters to ensure that when corporations and large businesses profit in our city, they contribute fairly to our community's well-being. Today's investments prove that progressive tax policy works, and it will protect our communities at this time. Make no mistake, when federal leaders target immigrant families, gut nutrition programs, and slash housing assistance, they're not making America great, they're betraying American values. I'm here as a proud Salvadoran and Jewish woman whose American story was possible because of immigration. Seattle will not stand by while authoritarianism disguised as policy inflicts suffering on our neighbors. So to every family worried about their safety, their next meal, their housing, we see you, we value you, and we will fight for you. To every corporation benefiting from our local economy, it's only right that you pay your fair share to protect the community that makes your success possible. We cannot control what happens in Washington, D.C., but Seattle can choose to boldly stand up to defend our values, to shield our small businesses and our neighbors. And today we prove that local leadership matters, that progressive values translate to real protection for real people, and that Seattle will never abandon those who need it most. So when history judges this moment, let it show that Seattle chose courage over compliance, compassion over cruelty, and community over callousness. Thank you.
Councilmember Mercedes brings the fire. And next, we're going to have Kelly Kinnison, Dr. Kinnison, the CEO of the King County Regional Homeless Authority, to share more about the impacts of federal cuts to shelter and other homelessness responses programs that we have here locally. Dr. Kinnison.
Thank you, Mayor Harrell, for inviting me to come speak today about this strategic investment. I'm really grateful to be part of this positive news for our community when I know we've all been weathering so much that's so very difficult. As the leader of the Regional Homelessness Authority, I've heard firsthand from service providers who are concerned about these federal impacts on their budgets and the devastating consequences instability in our system can create. Despite the uncertainty they feel, they continue to remain committed to serving some of the most vulnerable members of our community every day, and we must continue the work to support them. This investment provides two vital resources to the emergency homeless response system: voucher programs and emergency shelter. Vouchers are a lifeline for many in our community, and they keep folks stably housed. During the pandemic, vouchers played a crucial role in helping hundreds of people transition into housing, and our region stepped up and had one of the most successful distribution models in the country. And so this is a very strategic investment in how we will do this going forward. We must also preserve emergency shelter. This shelter meets the immediate need of unhoused people. It brings them indoors, out of the elements, and puts them on the path to rebuilding their lives. The investments announced today really show Mayor Harrell's continued commitment to advancing one of our region's most pressing issues and one of our nation's most pressing issues, and really highlights the values that we will continue to use as we serve everyone in our community. Thank you, Mayor Harrell, for the strategic and compassionate approach, and I look forward to witnessing the transformational outcomes that I know it's going to have.
Thank you, Kelly. Our next speaker is not only an elected official, but of course, Hamdi Mohammed is the director of the Seattle Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs, to bring some remarks. And Director Mohammed, you have the floor.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Well, first, I just want to start off by thanking Mayor Harrell and our city council members, Councilmember Rank, Councilmember Dan Strauss, who's here with us. Thank you for your leadership, for your partnership, for your vision. Mayor Harrell, thank you for strategizing with our office, for your One Seattle vision that you bring. Seattle is making a choice today, a choice to protect, a choice to invest, and a choice to stand with our immigrant and refugee communities. In these unprecedented times, when some choose fear, we in Seattle are choosing hope. When some promote division, we in Seattle are choosing unity. And when some strip away opportunities, our Seattle leadership is choosing to expand them. That is what this $4 million investment represents for our Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs. A commitment to rapid response when families are facing crisis, a commitment to our legal defense when due process is under attack, a commitment to citizenship, workforce development programs, youth opportunities that open doors to stability, to home ownership, and to a brighter future for so many people who call Seattle home. And this commitment builds on the work that we already have been doing. I want to recognize the staff from the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs who's in this room today, who work hard on behalf of our immigrant and refugee communities. I also want to recognize so many of our partners who are in this room, the Northwest Immigrants' Rights Project, Neighborhood House, Literacy Source, the list goes on, Somali Task Force, who's in this room today with us. You all make that possible. You bring the vision for seeing not only our immigrant and refugee community survive in this community, but you bring a vision where you see our communities thriving. Immigrants are no stranger to struggles. They are the backbone of this workforce in our economy and in this region. They are the small business owners on our main streets. They are the parents raising the next generation of leaders. They are our neighbors. They are our friends and families who make Seattle strong every single day. And for me, this work is not abstract. It's not distance, it's personal. I came to this country as a 3-year-old refugee with my parents, seeking safety and protection. We worked hard, like so many immigrant families, like so many everyday families in the city of Seattle, to build a life here. I've dedicated my career to public service because I am so grateful for what the United States, what this country has given us. And now my commitment is clear, to make sure that every immigrant and refugee family has the chance to feel safe, to make sure every family feels supported, to make sure every child has the opportunity to thrive. This is a moral responsibility that Mr. Mayor articulated so well. Budgets are a moral document. They say what our values are. That is our economic opportunity that we're building. This is our One Seattle commitment. And as the director of the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs, I also want to share that in early 2026, we will be announcing exactly how these funds will be used and how it'll be allocated, and how organizations like yours who are in this room can apply. And rest assured, we are doing the work right now to prepare those RFPs and make sure that we get them out the door as quickly as possible so that these dollars can reach our community. Thank you again for the work that you do, and we'll continue to work in partnership together.
Thank you, Director Mohammed. Usually when we hear such passionate pleas and such inspirational words, at least in where I grew up, you usually pass a collection plate around after. So do we have a bowl back there or something? Because we are continuing with this kind of fire. We want to hear from Henry Jung, a little bit of an introduction to Henry. He's a downtown Seattle resident. He's with One America, who's one of our strongest partners among many strong partners. He's a downtown Seattle resident, a first-generation immigrant. He's a member of One America and a volunteer with the Washington New Americans program. And Henry, we'd just love for you to share some thoughts with us, please.
Hi, I'm Henry. I'd like to just give a short talk. So the person credited with making Seattle-style teriyaki famous came here from Japan. The founder of Nordstrom came here from Sweden. The founder of One America, who is now serving in Congress, came here from India. Immigrants have a place in every sector of Seattle's economy and every facet of Seattle's social and cultural landscape. Seattle wouldn't be Seattle without us. Everyone here knows this already. But in this day and age, it needs to be repeated and repeated often. I've heard firsthand the fear of a young mother for the safety of her non-citizen husband when he drives an hour to work. I've heard the disbelief and indignation with which a retired federal prosecutor talked about the injustice and disregard for due process being inflicted on the immigrant community. In the wake of federal funding cuts and capricious detentions and deportations, all of which are of dubious legality at best, Seattle needs to step up. The city needs to increase its investment in providing access to healthcare, preschool, language services, English classes, affordable housing, jobs training, and more important than before, legal services that range from helping with citizenship applications to asserting basic human and constitutional rights. On behalf of One America, I want to thank Mayor Harrell, Director Mohammed, the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs, the City Council, especially Councilman Rink, along with other important and cherished service providers and organizations who tirelessly uplift the immigrant and refugee community. Seattle's renewed and deepened commitment to keeping our city a welcoming place for everyone, regardless of national origin, is a step in the right direction toward making this city a thriving home for us all. One America and our community partners are here to work with you all to organize, educate, and empower our community on this long and worthwhile journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. Thank you, Henry. Our last speaker will be Jinya Ma, who has participated in the Asian Counseling and Referral Services Program, which is, of course, one of the workforce development programs that OIRA support. I do want to recognize we're standing with, after a national search, Kendi Yamaguchi, who is the CEO. I've had the honor and the privilege to work with her as deputy mayor here in Seattle, and I don't think the ACRS could have picked a more outstanding and effective leader. And so I look forward to hearing Jin Ya Mao's words. Please, you have the microphone.
Hello everyone. My name is Jin Yao. I want to share my story with you. After high school in China, I moved to America in 2010. I did not go to college. My English was not good. I worked as a waitress in a restaurant for many years. The jobs were not stable without benefit. The hours were always changing. I felt nervous about my future. I need a change. I need a better future. I joined the Ready to Work program. It was a big help for me. In Ready to Work, I took ESL classes. My English got much better. My case manager talked with me about careers. He helped me find a good path. Because I always had many questions about the human body. I wondered, why does medicine help? Why does water not help a sickness? What helps a painful shoulder? I wanted to learn the answers. I became interested in the medical field. I wanted to help people also. My case manager told me about Renton Tech College medical certificate programs, and he referred me to the career service manager at Renton Tech College. I registered for the medical assistant training program. I also got financial aid. I didn't have to pay for all of it. I was so happy. Now I am studying to be a medical assistant. My dream is to work in a clinic or a hospital. My long-term goal is to become a registered nurse. It is a big dream, but I am not scared. Ready to Work gave me hope. It gave me a plan. Thank you to my teachers and my case manager. Thank you for your support of this life-changing program. You are not just funding a project. You are investing in people, in futures, and in our community health. Thank you.
Thank you, Jinyao. Okay, with that, I'll just close with a sort of a simple thought, and that is that if you are here, thank you for being here. You're all busy folks. I'm going to tell you. Now that is scary. How you can help with that is to, in all seriousness, it's good that we can laugh together even in a moment like this. These are unprecedented times when we're looking at who we're trying to serve as a city. And you've heard me say this before, and you're going to hear me say it today, that I believe the answers in this country can be found right here in Seattle. How we embrace race and social justice, how we love our immigrant and refugee communities, how we love our LGBTQ plus neighbors and communities, how we fight for climate change, how we educate our kids. The answers are right here. So I'm very proud to stand with you and my friends and family here to say onward. And with that, we'd be more than happy to take some questions. Yes, Joel, go ahead.
For context, please, Mayor, what is the dollar figure or percentage of federal dollars that make up the city budget, and any projections on how much you anticipate losing?
Yeah, so I didn't come with a budget director to say that. So we're looking at that. I could say hundreds of millions of dollars that we look at all of, and we're talking about transportation dollars. We're talking about public safety dollars. And so we look at the whole bucket. So I don't have my Office of Intergovernmental Relations folks here, but I do have a staff or two. I'm not going to call them out. But we're looking at hundreds of millions of dollars that are in jeopardy. One good example would be on the continuum of care funds. That's 60 to 70 million, and that goes into your shop, Dr. Kinnison. So there are real numbers at stake. We've been very successful in the courts thus far on all fronts, and so we'll continue that. We've already initiated 3 lawsuits, and we're not afraid to use the judicial system to make sure that these federal cuts, we think we have a right to certain federal dollars, and we certainly need them. So it's a significant number. Yes, Aaron.
Just on a sidebar, of late the Supreme Court, and I think this relates to our immigrant population here in Seattle. The Supreme Court okayed, on a criminal justice perspective, racial profile. Is the mayor's office going to be addressing that, or is prepared to address that aspect of immigration and that aspect of the rights of the people in the city?
Yeah. Having read that decision, I strongly agree with the dissenting opinion in that decision. And so we are very confident. Again, that's one of the reasons why, Aaron, we put in so much money in for the legal defense dollars to protect people's rights. We know under this state, under RCW 4960, that race discrimination is unlawful. So we have strong state protections under the Keep Washington Working Act, 1093-160, that we know that we do not have to cooperate with ICE efforts in our city, in our state. So we think we have adequate legal footing to make sure our immigrants and refugees are protected. And as mayor, I fully commit to those protections as well. Yes, sir.
It sounds like a lot of the resources for immigrant defense are forwarded to kind of outsourcing that to some of the nonprofit organizations that provide the services, including ICE Watch, legal defense. But would the city ever consider moving forward and providing that in-house, using the police department or any other city agencies to address these concerns, these issues?
Yeah, interesting question. I've never been asked that question before. What we've done as a strategy is we've met with the community-based organizations, and we said, what do you need? Lead us. We're here for you. And we have not heard that request that we use our city attorney department as a source to protect rights. Everything's on the table when you're fighting the Trump administration. So we'll entertain that thought. It's never been presented to me. So we'll keep, yes, please. Say, we had a pre-huddle. I said, when you see the mayor struggling on something, come and save him.
Yeah, thank you for that question, and Mayor Harrell did answer it really well. The thing that I would say is, for us, our community organization, our nonprofit, are trusted leaders in community, and for those who do want legal protections, a lot of the times that's who they look to and not government. And there's a lot of mistrust, and an organization like ours, we're subject to public record disclosures. A lot of information can be released through those mechanisms. And so for us, it is really important that we continue to build relationships with our nonprofit organization, who a lot of them, the Northwest Immigrants' Rights Project, they have attorneys that work for them, and they're working through these cases. Some of these cases take many, many years to solve and for hearings to be held. And so we really are intentional about partnering with our CBOs and making that partnership stronger. We advise, if there's curriculums on Know Your Rights, trainings, we help develop those curriculums. So it's honestly just a true partnership. And our office in particular, we don't just contract when we do programming. And so it really is a partnership with the organization, and we're developing those programs together. I hope that answered your question.
And I'd like to change my answer to what Director Hamdi said, please, Mohammed. Yes, Joel.
Could Seattle see any new tax proposals? And how much would these added investments lean into the SHIELD initiative that's going to go before voters? Would it all be going into this?
Yeah, this, just to be clear, that's a good question. So just to be clear, this is the funds from the SHIELD law. Will be on the ballot, that's what these funds will go to. And Councilmember Mercedes Ranks, if you want to say anything extra, but this is the package. This is how we're choosing to spend that revenue. And so
I'll just chime in on the point that the investments that have been laid out by Mayor Harrell are consistent with what was laid out, the priority areas that were laid out by council when we passed it unanimously out of council.
okay, I'm going to make sure there are no more questions. Yes,
I have a question.
please.
I don't know if it's out of context because I came in a bit late. Since we're talking about immigrants, and I just heard Miss Jinya, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. So she came in for studies, and then she was struggling the whole time. I myself came as a student from Bangladesh, and you know Bangladesh is a developing country. It was very difficult for me to come here for studies. But I completed my master's, and then I found it so difficult to get a job. I had to wait for like 6 months. And since I don't have any, I have an F1 visa, there were many opportunities that were not even open for me. And then I even went to Workforce and WorkSource, and then I wanted their help. And they said that, okay, we can help you build your resume, but not do anything apart from that. But now since I can't work, I was on the verge of, getting homeless because I didn't know how to pay my rent. And then luckily, alhamdulillah, I got this job at Somali Family Safety Workforce. I'm so grateful for them. It was the right of time. Otherwise, I don't know what I would have done. And also, I have a certain visa at time. So, do you think this issue it's not only me, I heard from a lot of people struggling with the same thing, 6 months, 10 months, no jobs. Like, I applied to over 1,000 jobs. So, do you think that this is kind of related and anything can be done, to speed up this, to increase the employment opportunities for people like us so that, we can move forward with this? We don't want to go back to our country, after studying, no, I don't have anything to do here. I want to go back. This is, it's so difficult. So I just wanted to address this. I don't know if it's related.
So you're asking a great question about employment opportunities for the immigrant and refugee community, and I would want to think that through the efforts we're doing as a city and the state, through their workforce development efforts, that we're providing every opportunity. But we recognize how tough it is right now. So I don't know, Hamdi, would you like to say anything on that? I don't have a lot of, I could go through some of the programs we have, but thank God you're working for one of our greatest CBOs around. But we do recognize how tough it is for immigrant refugees, particularly in this climate, to get jobs. But I don't know what else to say there.
Yeah, happy to add, similar to what Mayor Harrell said, obviously the job market is really difficult, and people from who have all sorts of different immigration status struggle through it. And again, we do partner with, there's the East African Community Services, Munir Muhammad is in the room, Literacy Source. There's a number of organizations that do workforce pipelines and try to help people with job placements. And so we would refer you to some of those organizations, or also the universities sometimes have pathways to help people attain a job. And it is difficult, and when you're going through different visa types, those challenges are real. But you could reach out to our office, and we would do whatever we can to be a source of information and connect you to some of the organizations that are doing that work.
So I'm going to close. I was going to close. Let me close, and then I'll take your question, if I may. Your question is actually a profound one, because we're here to talk about the SHIELD initiative, as I think is very apparent. I've in recent days, I've talked much about another issue to be on the ballot, which is the education levy. And in that, we recognize that a lot of the children in our Seattle public schools, they may not go on to work for a high-tech company and be developers. We have great opportunities at the port and in industry and in manufacturing and as a port city in the maritime industry. And they're looking for employees as well, and they pay pretty darn good wages. So in this program we have set up that you can go to college for 2 years for free. Just graduate from Seattle Public Schools. And we have apprenticeships and internships such that you can pipe into these different jobs. And if you want to go into high tech or biotech, there's opportunities there as well. So we recognize your experience, and hopefully the younger generation coming out of our schools will have a more pleasant experience. And you have a question, sure. I think this will be the last question because I'm saying, go ahead, please. Good. Yes. Nice meeting you, sir.
I'm new to the city,
Mm.
and I'm coming from New York and I've been immigration for a long time. And earlier you were talking about doubling down on proven strategy
Mhm.
investment initiatives.
Mhm.
And I wonder if you or your colleague could talk for a second about evaluating this. Because a lot of folks have been in a little bit of an emergency
Mhm.
since the new administration came in. A lot of emergency contracts. So when you look, for example, at legal services, how do you judge whether it's effective or not?
Yeah. Great question. And welcome to Seattle, by the way. Effectiveness, outcomes, how do we know that the taxpayers are getting value for the money or the outcomes? Maybe you could speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, and we send reports to the mayor's office as well. Metrics is really, really important, and being good stewards of public dollars is really important. So every time when these types of investments are being made, we also report out on how many clients are helped, what resulted from that. And some of the examples I could give you is, for instance, we had an influx of migrants who arrived in the Seattle area. They were unhoused at one point, and some of our legal service dollars went to that. And what we saw is individuals receive temporary shelter for, at times, maybe 30, 60 days. And the organizations we were partnering with then helped them obtain a work authorization. And so once they received that work authorization, that person became able to be able to get a job themselves. And what we saw is in some cases, less than 90 days, someone receives temporary housing, they receive services to get a work authorization, they find employment, and they move out of that shelter and they rent their own place and are able to receive stability. And so I have a bunch of program specialists in our office. They do site visits at the organizations that we're partnering with. They collect the data, the cases, and the stories. And if you'd like, I'm happy to share more of those stories. Thank you.
Okay, here's my last closing. Family. It's very important to realize the significance of some of these challenges. You know, I've said publicly that the B&O tax policy we proposed is good policy. It's strong policy. Many of you may or may not know that Amazon had record profits last year, $60 billion. The year before that, it was $30 billion. Microsoft, $80 billion. So what we were very intentional about doing is looking at the largest taxpayers and giving 90% of the businesses a tax break, a benefit, because we have to protect the most vulnerable. And so when you ask about return on investment, financial outcomes, I ask another question. What's the right thing to do? Mm-hmm. This is the right thing to do. So in closing, thank you for being here, onward, fighting together as a family and as friends, and my co-speakers. I know some people aren't as used to public speaking, but you knocked it out the park, by the way. Thank you very much for being here, and everyone, let's have a great day. Thank you.